What's up, guys? Sean here, coming at y'all with a quick little video. Another episode of the Daily Static, going to be covering all the NBA free agency moves that I can fit into one video. Going to be covering a little bit of Philadelphia stuff, a little bit on the Phillies, and a little bit on the Flyers. They made two moves right at the beginning of free agency as well. But first, if you're new here, please like, please subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the stuff that we're doing here. Covering news all around the NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB, just a little bit of everything. Any breaking news that hits, we're trying to get it out. Today's mostly going to be covering the NBA free agency, but we're going to try to sneak in a couple other things at the end of the video. I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for the support and thanks for coming back. First thing we're going to be covering today, the Lakers make a ton of moves. Obviously, LeBron James is moving on to a new team. We'll start with that. Said he's pretty much open to everything. Every team in the league has a little bit of a shot of getting him. It really looks like the Warriors or the Heat are the two main teams that actually have a real chance of getting him, but it is interesting to see, will he choose a different team? Kawhi went back to Toronto. They looked pretty good last year. He could be what they were missing. A lot of teams here and there, the Jazz making noise. I doubt he goes there, but you know, a lot of teams that could be sleepers for LeBron, and maybe his agency, maybe he himself looks around the league and, you know, he thinks maybe the Heat are a year away. He doesn't want to join with them right now, or maybe he thinks the Warriors are going to be too top heavy, not have enough depth, and that'll hurt them in the playoffs. Maybe he goes with one of these deeper teams. You know, you've seen OKC, New York, San Antonio build these amazing teams through the draft and free agency, and a player like LeBron, it would be like KD to Golden State, you know, so maybe he just wants to go win one more ring and add to his legacy and just help a young team win. But with that being said, the Lakers now obviously have a ton of cap space because LeBron's not with them anymore. Here to start, they get Quentin Grimes, 4 years, $60 million with a player option at the end. Apparently, they didn't watch very much Quentin Grimes the last couple years. A lot of people seem to think that he was worth that number. He was going to get that number. I thought it was going to be a little more in the 10 to 12 range, but good for him. He is a good player when he's on point, plays good defense, good hustle throughout the year. I don't think it was a great fit in Philadelphia with him and Tyrese, and I expect him to be a lot better there with Luka. With that being said as well, if he doesn't get the volume, sometimes he doesn't look like as good of a player. We'll see what it looks like with him in LA next year. The Lakers also get Walker Kessler from the Utah Jazz for 2 unprotected first-round picks in 2031 and 2033, a first-round swap in 28 and 30. Sources tell ESPN Kessler will sign a massive 4-year, $130 million deal with the Lakers. Now, he did not play really at all last year, if at all last year. The year before had crazy block numbers, crazy defensive numbers. I imagine this will be a good move for them. This feels like a bit of an overpay. Not sure why they did the picks instead of just trying to get him in free agency or something like that. I know he was restricted, but would the Jazz really have matched an offer this big? I kind of doubt it. Maybe there's more to the story here, but we'll kind of figure that out as more news comes out on the situation. Hell of a move for the Lakers here. Not a bad center. They haven't had a true center in years, and I imagine this is only going to help Luka moving forward. The rich get richer. Lakers also sign Colin Sexton to a 2-year, $19 million deal. Not a lot to say here. Good bench player, good role player. I imagine he'll carve out a path somewhere on this team. You know, decent price. And I imagine that if he doesn't have any production by the halfway point of the season, by the trade deadline, it'll be an easy contract to move. So low risk, high reward signing here. And then Justin, I'm not even going to try to say his last name, free agent forward center Sandro M. has agreed to a 4-year, $52 million deal with the Lakers with a player option for the 4th season. Big, fully guaranteed deal for George. Blah, 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 blah. I didn't really watch a lot of him last year. I'm pretty sure he came from Toronto. Decent player. You know, that's a pretty big number for someone like that. It's going to be a role player, kind of a stretch big, I would imagine, is what he is at this point for the Lakers. You know, another big signing for them, so we'll be paying attention and seeing what kind of impact he has this year as well. A little bit of news here about Chris Middleton and the possibility of joining Giannis in Miami, looking at possibly taking a minimum contract. I don't want to say he's completely dead, although he has been cooked for a couple years. The knee injuries, the issues in the last couple years in Milwaukee, and then going to the Wizards, bouncing around from there, has not really been productive. But if he has anything left in the tank, if he can help them get through the regular season, maybe just chemistry and stuff like that, you know, could be a good signing for them. If he has anything left in the tank, I doubt it. Just another player that Giannis is familiar with, another big-bodied individual. He was a good defender. He was a pretty good three-point shooter. We'll see how much of that is left. Just another option for the Heat here. You expect this kind of stuff to happen. Giannis's gravity is going to pull a lot of guys in. It already has. And it's going to make Miami a a very interesting destination for a lot of free agents. Wanted to throw this in about the Lakers. They now have no tradable first round picks over the next 7 years and have committed $475 million to Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, and Walker Kessler. This is insane. Obviously, Luka, one of the best players in the league. There's a reason why I got him up on the wall over there. One of my favorite players. Don't really love the Lakers. Liked him a lot more on the Mavericks than I do on the Lakers. But, you know, they're going to go all in for Luka. This was always the plan when you bring in a player of that caliber. I mean, they're letting LeBron James walk in free agency. So that kind of tells you what's going on in the building, them and Luka. So they are absolutely tied up for the next 7 years. They will not be making a lot of other moves. They're going to hope that the players they bring in can do enough over the next couple years. Hope that anytime they have a couple dollars that they nail that free agent. They're going to be in a tight spot though, and they better hope that this works out early and often. If they're not making noise this year and next year, definitely next year, then they have a huge problem, and blowing up that team is not going to be easy with the salaries that they gave Kessler, the salaries that they gave Austin Reeves, and then Luka, you imagine, will continue to have value, but, you know, what if he just stops caring, gains weight, stops hitting shots? You know, that was a real point of concern when he was with Dallas. You know, you hope that he's a completely changed human in terms of basketball mind and that he's fully locked in and bought into what's happening in the building. Otherwise, the Lakers could be in trouble. This one absolutely blew my mind. Free agent center Mitchell Robinson has agreed to a 3-year, $47.4 million deal to sign with the Boston Celtics. With a player option in the third season, Robinson departs the Knicks after serving a key role in this historic championship team. First things first, congratulations to Mitchell Robinson. After the finals, playoffs and the finals and everything that he's been through throughout his career, to come out here and win a championship with the New York Knicks and then to get a payday afterwards, congratulations to him. Wasn't my favorite player early, but like a lot of players in New York now, I've grown to love these guys. You know, I enjoy their stories, watching where they came from and where they are now. Congratulations for Mitchell Robinson. You know, awesome. In terms of basketball, in terms of the Celtics, I feel like this is an awful decision. Mitchell Robinson has had way more bad than good over his career. You know, you just hope that he's continuing to grow and rise if you're a Celtics fan. From a 76ers fan standpoint, I hope that his best ball is behind him, and I hope he reverts to never being able to hit a free throw and just making mistakes and fouling out of every game, because this is a huge risk. Boston was not the team that I expected to make this kind of move on Mitchell Robinson. Now, if it works out and he can hold down the defense and stop fouling, hit free throws, they'll be fine, and this will be a great move for them. But this is very, very high risk, high reward. I feel like this is a big move. That's a big salary for Mitchell Robinson. And if things do go sour fast, you know, can you get rid of that salary? So just a weird move from Boston here. Not one that I expected at all. High risk, high reward, but we will see. Made a video earlier about the Giannis trade. A lot of people were penciling in Powell to be part of that lineup. They obviously did not sign him. He agrees to a 2-year, $45 million deal with the Bulls. Powell joins the Bulls as a potent scorer after an NBA All-Star season in Miami, averaging nearly 22 points over the last 2 years. I think that Miami was always going to do this. He's played well, but with the age, the dollar amount, bringing in Giannis, $45 million over the next 2 years is a lot of money that the Miami Heat could allocate to other players, other positions of need. I always expected him to be moving on. No surprise here. Now, as far as him with the Bulls, you know, I don't really think it's going to move the needle too much. Maybe he comes in and he can continue to score, 18 to 22 point range. That would be great for them, and that would definitely help them. But I don't know if this really moves the needle overall, but good for him. Some John Collins news here. Obviously, as a Sixer fan, we were watching John Collins. The Pistons persuaded Collins as their top target to assume an expected starting role at power forward. A complete deal with his agent, Sean Kennedy and Jeff Schwartz, this morning. He's agreed to a 3-year, $51 million deal with the Pistons. I believe this is now a sign and trade, if I remember correctly. I think I saw a report of that came out later. So this is a little bit different than what it was here. But again, he's still going to the Pistons. I think this is a great signing for them. If he can continue to play defense, open looks to the rim, as a slasher, as a 3-and-D guy, I think he's another great piece for them. It's an upgrade over Tobias Harris. You know, not really surprised at the fit. I think him and Cade are going to go really well together. And if he can continue to play the way he has the past couple years, continue to elevate his game, this will be a great signing for them. I really like John Collins. Was kind of hoping to see him in Philadelphia, but this was a pretty big deal. I think it was a little too rich for our blood. Good for John Collins, and I expect this to work out pretty well for Detroit. I expect him to fit well with them. So here you see the Clippers will create trade exception by helping facilitate John Collins sign and trade to Detroit. Sources say Collins' 3-year, $51 million contract with the Pistons is only guaranteed for the first season, reported. I'm told Detroit wasn't willing to offer Tobias Harris more than one guaranteed season either. With the Lakers business today, let's see if Harris or Rui Hachimura end up signing into the Spurs open forward spot. So now it's becoming a sign and trade. Details will come out later on all this. All right, for my 76ers fans, free agent forward Dean Wade has agreed to a 4-year, $39 million contract with the Philadelphia 76ers. Several contenders persuaded the former Cavaliers forward, who has become an indispensable defending and shooting front court piece. I'll dig into this one a little bit more probably in another video, a little more Sixers dedicated, but first thoughts are he's been injury riddled. You know, he's had a lot of injury issues. I think he missed the whole first round last year. With that being said, he had a game against Cade where he held Cade to like 5 for 15. Decent 3-point shooter for a big guy, 6'9" size. I imagine this is going to be maybe a slight upgrade over Kelly Oubre if we're lucky. Maybe Kelly comes back and they can kind of work together. I would like to see both of them. If one's cold, then you could kind of go to the other. I don't really trust Justin Edwards, so I think this is a big upgrade over him. With that being said, he has come from being an undrafted free agent to a two-way contract to a standard contract to being extended. He's going to be 30 years old. He is getting up there in age, has had some injuries, but he has gotten better over his career. So I imagine that if he can have a healthy season or two, he can definitely make some noise for us just as a rotational piece. I think Joel's gravity definitely will help his three-point percentage. He could have a career year with Philly if Joel Embiid's healthy, if Paul George is healthy, stretch the floor a little bit and give him a little bit more opportunities for open looks. But I don't hate this move. Not my favorite, not my first choice, but with where the Sixers are from the Daryl Morey signings, with the Paul George contract, the Joel Embiid contract, this is probably the best it's going to get. So what you're trying to do is just fill some spots, see how these guys work together, judge it by the trade deadline, and then hopefully by the trade deadline, you know, we have some value on these heavy contracts and we can potentially move off of them, make some other moves, and start building around Tyrese and VJ the way we should. But I think this is a player that works well with Joel if he's healthy. I think this is also a player that works well with Tyrese and VJ. So a good move for what the Sixers have available. Also, free agent center Ariel Hakaporti has agreed to a 1-year, $3.4 million deal with the 76ers. Obviously, he was with the Knicks last year in a very limited role, missed his first season due to a meniscus tear. Not eye-popping numbers, however, he did have some decent moments in the playoffs last year, was not completely unplayable. Good athleticism, still relatively young. I imagine he's going to be battling with Adem Bona for that backup big role. However, I don't expect this to be the end-all be-all at center. He could be here for a little while and then he could be out the door. Maybe he comes in and he has some juice and can bring us a little something this year. This is kind of a low risk, high reward. You'd like to see this player at more of a minimum deal. This is going to affect our salary. If I heard correctly, I think we only got about $6 million before we hit the second apron. We can use the second apron to sign Kelly and make some additional moves, but it's going to get a little hairy, and I don't expect the Sixers to spend money if we're being honest. So another just depth signing. You know, maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't, but we'll definitely see. I know this will never happen. I'm just saying it now. It's never going to happen. LeBron has come out so many times and said he won't play for Philly, and people just won't hear it. This would be a dream come true. Never going to happen. Never going to happen. But, you know, could you imagine LeBron, healthy Embiid, you know, from like 2018, you know, Paul George as he is right now, because he had a pretty good postseason. I don't, you know, like the contract, but last year he had a pretty good end to the season after, you know, his little that he went on or whatever it was. This would just be unbelievable. This would be like Christmas morning, 8 years old, Nintendo 64 under the tree. Just unbelievable, you know, but never going to happen. But, you know, LeBron, come on, dude. You know, come give this poverty franchise something to be happy about, something to root for. Show Joel Embiid how to stay healthy. Never going to happen, but, you know, I thought this was awesome. In some Philadelphia Flyers news, they've signed goaltender Dan Vladar to a 5-year contract extension worth around $5.5 million a year. You know, it's always good to have goaltenders. Obviously, they like the guy. I didn't watch too much on him, but this is the first move that I seen today. Good for him. Hopefully good for the Flyers. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about this move. Another move here, 8 years, $7.1 million average per year Tyson Forrester, again, I didn't really watch the Flyers last year. I'm going to make an attempt to watch a lot more this year, try to sneak in some games here and there where I can. But another big move. 8 years is a hell of a commitment to a player. Now, I imagine you could trade him. You don't really want to do that if you're locking someone up to this type of contract. You imagine they have to be decent again. Tell me in the comments what you think of this move. Just the first 2 moves they made today, I figured I'd include it and see if we can get some traction on some Flyers stuff. Last thing we're going to cover here today for Philly fans, it's going to be the Phillies. They are now 3 games back from the Braves for the NL East, closing the gap, obviously. I was completely out on the Phillies earlier this season. There's still games over the past 20 games that I've kind of sat through, rewatched highlights, stuff like that, and you're like, it's over. This team is awful. You know, outside of Kyle Schwarber's bat being just red hot, unbelievably red hot, Harper looks like he's been having a little bit of a run lately. You know, Christopher Sanchez just being absolutely dominant. Zach Wheeler coming back from injury, starting to look better. Can Aaron Nola get some consistency? Can he clean things up? You expect a lot out of this team at the beginning of the year, and then they look the way they did early, fire their manager, bring someone else in, you know. I hope they make noise. Right now, they're unbelievably red hot. These past couple weeks have been unbelievable baseball. A couple huge comebacks. Like, if you haven't been paying attention, you haven't been watching, you gotta go check out these comebacks. I think it was 2 games in a row where they were down in the 9th, and ridiculous comebacks to win the game. So bats are getting hot at the right time. I see people screaming about trading Trey Turner. You know, I don't know what to think about that right now. I don't know if that's the smartest decision right now. I see people saying move Bryce back into the outfield. You know, do you really want to continue to mess with something that's been working? I mean, it's been working to this point. You know, are they going to win a World Series? I don't trust anybody outside of the Dodgers to actually make it. Can the bats stay hot from July 1st to, you know, October? I don't know if that's realistic or not, but they are getting hot. They are looking a lot better. I believe they have options. They can make moves at the deadline. I think there's a chance that they can move some players, bring some players in. This has been unbelievable to watch. Hell of a comeback season so far. A lot of baseball still left to play, but you know, just an amazing comeback season. 7-3 over their last 10. Atlanta's 3-7 over their last 10. You know, Atlanta has fallen like they've got rocks in their shoes, and Philly's got helium in their hat. So it's been a hell of a thing to watch this year. And again, if you guys are interested in more Philly stuff, deeper dives, more breakdowns, comment down below. Let me know. That way I can bring some more videos for you guys. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. I appreciate y'all so much. I love you guys so much. This has just been a big roundup of all the news today. I know it was very NBA heavy for a lot of this. Hopefully my Philly fans are still in here just for the last couple minutes. You know, a little bit of Philly news here and there, a little bit of stuff just for us. Again, I'm trying to do whatever I can to keep the channel floating right now. Obviously, slow season is absolutely killing me, but we're getting closer and closer to football every day. And when that takes off, that's when things are really going to start popping. The videos are going to come out a lot more frequently, shorts. We still got a breakdown coming on the Eagles' second round tight end, Eli Stowers. We've still got a lot more big videos coming out. I've got a huge Howie Roseman video that I'm planning on dropping at some point. That's not going to be just a watch once kind of thing. It's going to be kind of the story of Howie and how he got to where he is now, all his good, all of his bad, and the road there. So I'm excited for that. But guys, thank you so much for being here. Again, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, come back and watch one more time. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Peace.